always, there may be some bugs. So let's go ahead and take a look at the images here. So right here, we can see inside of the plugin settings that there is an update patch archive. And it does state here that an internet connection may be needed for this. And so right here, you can see there is the patch source, and then you have the ability to select which patches that you want. And over here, we have got PT running, and right there is the GoldHEN patch menu. And if you click on that, then you can see a bunch of different options. And actually for PT, I think it was these right here, which is like things such as 60 frames per second, disable the lens flare, disable the camera blur, and a bunch of kind of cool patches. Now, there was another example in here, and this one was for Resident Evil 4, and this is things like a 30 frames per second lock here, so it forces the game to run at 30 frames per second. There's also ones in here that scale the resolution by a certain percentage here. Again, all of these is by illusion. So again, if you do want to check this out, just go ahead and put a donation here. And if you can't, you can always hit 0 and then press Get Now. And then you'll be able to hit the Checkout Now button and it will be complete. And you can scroll down and view the content and then just download that 7Z file. And then inside of it, of course, you'll see your change log and some more documentation. But the only thing that you will need there is going to be the goldhen.bin. Next up, we're going to be talking about etaHEN, as there is another beta that is currently available. So over here on PKG Zone, there is a channel that is called etaHEN Public Test. And underneath that, there is some pinned messages that you can click on. And you can see right here that there is some new data information, or etaHEN version 2.6b. So first off, we can see that it expires on February the 7th, and that the changes here is fix the loading notifications not appearing, added the app plugin system to the toolbox, and then fix the app plugin toggle states not being saved. Now, there is some app plugin notes here. It says that all plugins will be auto-detected, like the system plugins, and that only plugins listed in the plugins.any config can be toggled, and that if the current app isn't found in the config, toggling is disabled. Plugins under default header applies to all outs. And so basically with the out plugin, you will be able to turn on and off different plugins based off per app or per game. So right here is an example of this, where for this title, which is CUSA, this will load whenever the game runs, which is the data plugin.sprx. You can also do this for multiple title IDs, and of course there is a default one that loads with all apps. Now you can come right here and grab this, but I did see up here at the top that there is this version which adds a 2-second delay on the toolbox loading to prevent instability on older firmware, plus new out plugin system. So you may want to grab this one right here instead. Okay, and so wrapping up this section, also do keep in mind that there is another build of items flow, which you can use with this as well. Next up, we had a couple of system updates come out for the PlayStation 4 as well as the PlayStation 5. For the PlayStation 4, we now have version 13.04. Now, this one does give us the dreaded, we've made some security fixes to the system software, and historically, whenever we've seen this before, that usually means that they have patched some of the current known vulnerabilities. Now, we already know that Hoops Floyd is only going to work with 13.00, but it looked like we had something for 13.02. Now, with this 13.04, I'm sure most of that has all been patched up, and the cat and mouse game continues to play. Now, one thing I did see that I thought that was kind of interesting is that if you do have a PlayStation 4, there were these messages that started sending out right around January the 20th of 2026, which said, from PlayStation, you played a good game in 2025, and that whether you're catching up on these kids right here are getting ready for the most anticipated games of 2026, including, and of course they've got 007 First Light, and so much more. Now's the perfect time to upgrade to a PS5 console. So anyways, I thought it was kind of interesting that Sony is kind of forcing and pushing people to go ahead and purchase a PlayStation 5, but we are several years in the cycle, so it is starting to make sense. Speaking of the PlayStation 5, we can see that we also just got another update today, and this one is going to land us on PS5 version 12.60. Now, mainly in this, it really isn't anything to write home about. It says that now you can jump directly into the Friends activity widget, you can turn on things like read receipts, and that they've improved the messages and usability on some screen. And then finally, we've improved system software performance and stability. Now, one thing to call out is that on the PS5 update here, we did not see that security message that we saw over here, but I guarantee you that they've probably just went ahead and rolled that in to the latest 12.60 firmware. But again, only time will tell. Now, since we're already on the topic of 12.60, I saw that Master S9 has released this video of them on 12.60 in trying the Lua loader, and well, you will be pleased to note that it did look like that it performed successfully. So here they're going to start up one of those Lua games, and in just a second here, you'll see we got our remote Lua loader that is running on PS5 12.60. So anyways, that is pretty good news. Now, one thing that I haven't seen yet is anyone doing that with the Star Wars Racer Revenge disc yet. But again, 12.60 just came out a couple hours ago, so we'll probably see more of that coming soon. Next up, there was an update over here from Kajina, and it stated did the first HackerOne Bellany, and it is a 5-digit payout. Definitely worth the wait, and thanks to PlayStation. And in this message, we can see that they got a message from PlayStation and said thanks for the report and that we've reproduced your findings, and we have decided to rate the severity of this report as high and award you with a $10,000 bounty. So anyways, very well deserved. I'm very happy that they're able to get some cash out of this very cool skill set that they have. Now, I did notice over on HackerOne that there has been a few more reports that has been resolved. And again, I always tell everybody to take this information with a grain of salt. Obviously, I don't really know what these are going to be, but I just kind of assume that when these have these higher payouts, that they're obviously going to be in this high rewards bounty tree. So anyways, we can see that there was a bug reported by SlidyBat that was resolved 20 hours ago, and this is a high reward. So this is the $10,000, which bumps them down into this bracket right here. And so I think for this one, we're just going to have to wait and see what comes out of this. But again, this is always one of the great little places that you can go to and get a rough summary of some of the different exploits and when they have been resolved and then finally released to the public. Next up, there has been an update to FPKGI, and what this is this is a open source clone of PKGI, which was for the Vita as well as the PSP and the PS3. And it basically is an open source homebrew app for installing modified PKG files on the PS4 and the PS5. Now, what we saw just 18 hours ago here was the final release of it. And if we look into the release notes here, we can see there was quite a few additions. So there is a download queue that has been added, Elite after install functionality for the PlayStation 5, a couple of different improvements in optimization, and then a whole slew of different fixes. Now again, if you haven't worked with this yet, I do have a video that is currently available on this that I will link to below, but it's a very easy way to go ahead and to be able to install all of those PKG files that you've already got on your PS4 or your PS5. Next up, let's go ahead and switch over to Natski, which has an update over here to the auto backport. So if we look over here in the commit history, you'll see that there is a couple of different commits, and let's go into this one. And what we can see in the latest commit was that added multiple backport game support, added the revert patch, so this is for those lower SDKs, and then save input and output directory into a JSON file, and then now can be used as a lib to import into other projects. And then he stated some other things that he has probably forgotten. So what's really nice about this? This is the only file that you will currently need. Now, again, I do have some information that I can share with this, but it's been pretty self-explanatory getting up and running with this, but there will be a link in the description if you want to go ahead and start playing with this. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation 4, as there has been an update to the Apollo CLA tools. Now, I know most of you are using and have worked with Apollo Save Tool, especially on the PlayStation 4, and you are probably wondering what this is. Well, this is the CLI tools that Houso has been released. And so if we go back into the main project here, you'll see that it states that this library and command line tools implement a save data patch engine that supports Save Wizard, Game Genie codes, and brute force save data scripts. And so again, this is cross-platform, so all of these platforms are supported. There is a bunch of different code formats that are supported in here, as well as more information about the command line tools. So there is a parser here that reads a safe patch file and provides a numbered list of detected cheap patches. There is a dumper tool here, and of course there is the Apollo GUI tool for Windows users. So again, something for you to check out if you are interested. So let's go ahead and switch over to Void Whisper, as they released this post here that says, I'm officially pulling the plug on Shadow Mount. It's a good run, but it's time to evolve, and that they're going to be working on Void Shell, which again, I talked about in the last Homebrew News. Now, it really seems like the issue here has been GitHub wanting to remove these files for some reason. And well, I did ask in this thread here if he could point to where folks could get this in the future, and what he did was he pointed to this site over here on GBA Temp, which has the full Shadow Mount version 1.3 in the very latest release of this. Now, I've gone ahead and downloaded this one, and I think you should too, mainly because this is the bare minimum in order to get Shadow Mount to automatically detect and mount games. And while there is a whole ton of work that's being put into Void Shell, right now I'm kind of going for that minimum configuration that I've been talking about in the past, where I just load the bare minimum resources in order for myself to get a great backup experience. Next up, there is a little bit of news that is not PlayStation related that I want to talk about. First thing is that it does look like we have got our first ever hardware attack against the Xbox One boot ROM. And while this is world first exclusive at this event here, we can see that there has already been the blog post that has come out, which is the first hardware attack on the Xbox One boot ROM. By the way, I just saw these files available for download. Now, in this blog post, there is a little bit more information, but what I kind of took away from this is that if you are able to find one of these old fat Xbox One consoles, now is absolutely the time to pick it up. Now, there isn't any promise here of what all you're going to be able to do with this, but I absolutely see us using backups at one point for the Xbox One, so I'm also looking myself on Facebook Marketplace to pick up one of these for cheap, and I think I'm actually going to go to a couple of pawn shops today and see if I can find one. And the last thing that I'll leave you with is that I know there's been a ton of people talking about the founder of Atmosphere for the Switch One retiring. And Yes, I definitely think that this is, it's a big news item, them leaving. But one of the things that I've kind of always found is that this project, which is Atmosphere, is in a really good shape to be handed over to the next person in the scene. And well, there already is several hands that have been raised for this. So I don't really see them retiring as something that is going to prohibit or to prevent the Nintendo Switch and specifically Atmosphere from moving forward. So I don't really think that it helped, but I also don't think that it is as big of a deal as what a lot of people are saying. Anyways, that's just my thoughts on the opinion. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Michael.